Chapter 1. The Silence Between Words. Jensen had always wondered what it felt like to be noticed. Not in the dramatic, spotlight on the stage kind of way, just in the simple, everyday sense of someone looking up and saying, "Hey, Alex, come sit with us." That never happened. In high school, Alex was the quiet kid. The one teachers forgot to call on because he never raised his hand. The one who sat at the edge of group projects, typing silently while everyone else argued about fonts and colors. He wasn't shy, not really. He just didn't know how to insert himself into conversations without feeling like an intruder. He used to joke, quietly, to himself, that if there was a high school reunion someday, they'd forget to send him an invitation. Not out of malice, just because he was invisible. And honestly, he didn't even know why. He wasn't ugly. He wasn't rude. His mom raised him to say please and thank you, and to hold doors open for people. He never bothered anyone. He was polite, well-mannered, and perfectly average. But in a room full of people, Alex was the silence between words. After graduation, life didn't suddenly become a teen movie where the quiet guy gets noticed and everything changes. No, Alex went to a local college, studied computer science, and kept his head down. He had a dream, one that didn't require popularity or parties. He wanted to make video games. Games had saved him when nothing else did. When he was 12 and sitting alone in his room while other kids were at birthday parties, games gave him worlds to explore. Places where he wasn't invisible. Places where he could be a hero, a strategist, a king. So he learned to code. He learned to build. He learned to create. College was fine. He wasn't bullied. He wasn't mocked. He just wasn't there, not really. People passed him in hallways like he was part of the wallpaper. And Alex accepted it. He had his laptop, his projects, and his dream. That was enough. Fast forward a few years, and Alex was 26, working at a company that programmed chips for appliances. Not exactly the glamorous world of game development he imagined, but it paid the bills. And it gave him time for his side project, a game he'd been building piece by piece, night after night, fueled by coffee and quiet determination. The concept was simple but strategic, like chess dressed in medieval armor. Players built cities, formed alliances, betrayed each other, and fought for dominance in a 3-month cycle that ended in a grand tournament. Alex poured everything into it. Ranking systems, guild mechanics, resource sharing. And people loved it. For 2 years, Alex was a one-man show, coding, updating, moderating forums, answering emails. He lived on adrenaline and 4-hour naps. The game was his life. Until it started killing him. The joy faded. The pressure mounted. He couldn't keep up. So one night, staring at his screen with a headache that felt like a thunderstorm behind his eyes, Alex made the hardest decision of his life. He posted a notice. The game will be taken down. The backlash was immediate. Players were disappointed but understanding. They knew it was hard for one person to run everything. Still, Alex felt like he'd failed them. Then came the phone call. A game publisher. Big name. No small talk. They loved his game. They saw potential. They offered him a deal. Full ownership stays with Alex, but they take over maintenance and expansion. He gets a generous share of profits. Alex almost dropped his phone. He asked why they were being so generous. The rep laughed and said, "Because games are meant to be fun, and you've created something special." The deal was struck. Overnight, Alex went from exhausted indie developer to financially secure creator. He paid off his parents' mortgage, bought new computer equipment, and then nothing. No flashy car, no designer clothes, no Instagram-worthy vacations. Alex didn't care about any of that. He still drove his 8-year-old Toyota, still wore his worn college hoodie, still lived like he had no one to impress, because he didn't. Sometimes he wondered if he'd ever meet someone who could actually see him. Not his money, not his game, him. A year later, life was quiet again. Normal. Alex liked working. He liked routine. But sometimes, late at night, he stared at the ceiling and thought, what now? He had enough money to retire, but what would he do? Watch reruns until he turned gray? That's when he started teaching. An after-school programming workshop for elementary kids. It wasn't glamorous, but it mattered. Maybe he could help a kid like him, someone who felt invisible, find a world where they belonged. And that's where he met Kim Sutton. Kim was 26, an elementary school teacher with a smile that could power a small city. She was bright, optimistic, and the kind of person who made strangers feel like old friends. She liked Alex the moment she met him. Quiet, polite, but not timid. He held her gaze like she was just another person, not a goddess, not a mystery, just Kim. And she liked that. Alex didn't know it yet, but his life was about to change. Chapter 2. The first spark. Alex didn't expect the after-school workshop to feel like a battlefield. Not because of the kids. They were great, curious, and eager. But because of the sheer chaos of 30 tiny humans armed with laptops and questions like, "Can I make a dragon that eats homework?" He was halfway through explaining loops when a voice behind him said, "You're brave." Alex turned. Kim Sutton stood in the doorway, leaning against the frame like she owned the place. She had that kind of presence, bright, warm, like sunlight spilling into a room. Her hair was pulled back in a messy bun, and she wore a cardigan that looked like it had hugged every kid in the school at least once. Alex blinked. Brave. She smiled. 30 kids. Computers. Code. That's basically a recipe for chaos. Alex shrugged. Chaos is just unoptimized code. Kim laughed, and Alex felt something strange in his chest. Like someone had opened a window in a room he didn't realize was stuffy. She walked in, weaving between desks like she'd done it 1,000 times. I'm Kim, she said, stopping beside him. 3rd grade. I heard you were starting this workshop and thought I'd check it out. Alex, he said, because that was his name and his brain wasn't offering anything more creative. Kim glanced at the whiteboard, where Alex had written for loops in neat block letters. So what's the plan? Teach them to build the next big game. Alex hesitated. Maybe. Or at least teach them how to think like programmers. That's cool. She leaned closer, lowering her voice like they were sharing a secret. You know, most of these kids think you're a wizard. A wizard? Yeah. You type things, and stuff happens. That's basically magic. Alex smiled, small but real. If only it worked on laundry. Kim laughed again, and Alex decided he liked that sound. It was bright, unfiltered, like she wasn't laughing because she was supposed to. She was laughing because she wanted to. The workshop ended with a chorus of "Bye, Mr. Jensen," and the sound of chairs scraping against the floor. Alex packed up slowly, savoring the quiet after the storm. Kim stayed. So, she said, hopping onto a desk like it was perfectly normal. What made you start this? Alex zipped his laptop bag. I wanted to share what I love. Programming gave me a world when I didn't have one. Kim tilted her head. That's kind of beautiful. Alex felt heat creep up his neck. Compliments always did that. It's just, I know what it's like to feel invisible. Maybe this helps someone else feel seen. Kim studied him for a moment, and Alex had the unsettling feeling that she could see more than he was saying. Then she smiled. You're full of surprises, Alex Jensen. He blinked. Surprises? Yeah. Most people would have started a podcast or something. You started a coding class for kids. Alex shrugged. Podcasts don't debug themselves. Kim grinned. Fair point. They walked out together, the late afternoon sun painting the hallway in gold. So, Kim said, do you do this every week? Every Tuesday. Cool. Maybe I'll stop by again. Alex nodded, trying to sound casual even though his brain was doing cartwheels. Sure. Kim paused at the door, then turned back with a mischievous smile. By the way, if you ever figure out that laundry spell, let me know. Alex chuckled. Deal. She waved and walked away, leaving Alex standing in the doorway with a thought he hadn't had in years. Someone noticed me. Chapter 3. Debugging Life. The next Tuesday, Alex arrived early. He always did. It gave him time to set up laptops, check the Wi-Fi, and mentally prepare for 30 kids who thought infinite loop sounded like a roller coaster. He was halfway through arranging chairs when he heard footsteps. Light, quick, like someone who didn't believe in walking slowly. Back for round 2? Alex asked without turning. Of course, Kim said, appearing beside him like she'd teleported. I couldn't resist the chaos. Alex smiled. You say that like it's a selling point. Kim grinned. It is. Keeps life interesting. The kids poured in, buzzing with energy and questions. Alex launched into the lesson, conditional statements today, and Kim floated around the room, helping kids who got stuck. It was going well until a boy named Ethan raised his hand. Mr. Jensen, my dragon won't eat the homework. Alex blinked. You're a dragon? Kim leaned over, whispering. He's been working on that since last week. Alex crouched beside Ethan's laptop. The code was a masterpiece of chaos, nested loops, random variables, and something that looked suspiciously like a spell. Okay, Alex said, scanning the mess. Your dragon's hungry, but you forgot to tell it what homework tastes like. Ethan frowned. Homework tastes like sadness. Kim snorted, and Alex bit back a laugh. Fair point, he said. Let's define sadness as a variable. By the time the workshop ended, Alex felt like he'd run a marathon. The kids left in a whirlwind of backpacks and chatter, and the room fell quiet. Kim perched on a desk again, swinging her legs like a kid. You're good at this. Alex shook his head. I'm good at code. Kids are a different language. Kim smiled. You speak it better than you think. Alex hesitated, then asked, why do you keep coming back? Kim tilted her head. Because it's fun. And because you're interesting. Alex froze. Interesting? That was new. He'd spent most of his life being the opposite of interesting. Kim hopped down, closing the distance between them. You know, she said, most people would have quit after the first chaos storm. You didn't. Alex shrugged. I don't quit easily. Kim's eyes softened. I like that. They walked out together again, the hallway bathed in the soft glow of evening. So, Kim said, do you ever do anything fun outside of this? Alex blinked. Fun? Yeah. Movies, bowling, spontaneous road trips? Alex considered. I'd play games. Kim laughed. Of course you do. Let me guess, strategy games. Alex nodded. Mostly. Kim smiled. Figures. You seem like the type who plans 5 moves ahead. Alex didn't know what to say to that, so he said nothing. Kim nudged his arm lightly. You should try something spontaneous sometime. Alex raised an eyebrow. Like what? Kim grinned. Like coffee with me. Alex stared. Words queued up in his brain and crashed like a server under too much traffic. Coffee. He repeated, because apparently that was all he could manage. Yeah, Kim said, amused. It's this magical drink. You'll love it. Alex swallowed. Okay. Kim's smile widened. Friday. Alex nodded, still processing the fact that this was happening. Friday. She winked. Don't be late. When she walked away, Alex stood there, heart pounding like he'd just deployed code without testing. Coffee. With Kim. He wasn't sure if this was a date. He wasn't sure if he wanted to know. All he knew was that for the first time in a long time, life felt interesting. Chapter 4. Coffee and Code. Friday came faster than Alex expected. He spent most of Thursday wondering if coffee counted as a date. He Googled it. Twice. The internet was unhelpful. Half the articles said yes, half said no, and one suggested bringing a parrot for conversation starters. He didn't own a parrot, so he settled on wearing his least worn hoodie, the one without the mysterious stain, and jeans that didn't look like they'd survived a coding marathon. The coffee shop Kim picked was small, cozy, and smelled like roasted heaven. Alex arrived 10 minutes early because being late was worse than a syntax error. He picked a corner table, sat down, and tried not to look like someone waiting for a job interview. Kim walked in 5 minutes later, and Alex's brain promptly forgot how to function. She wasn't in teacher mode today. No cardigan, no sensible shoes. She wore a simple blue sweater and jeans, her hair loose around her shoulders. She looked different. Not intimidating, just real. "Hey," she said, smiling like the sun had decided to take human form. "Hi." Alex managed, standing up because that seemed polite. Kim slid into the chair across from him. "You're early." Alex shrugged. "Habit. Programmer thing? Maybe. Deadlines make you paranoid." Kim laughed, and Alex felt that same strange warmth in his chest. They ordered coffee, black for Alex, caramel latte for Kim, and sat in comfortable silence for a moment. Comfortable for Kim, anyway. Alex's brain was running 1,000 background processes. What do I say? Do I ask about work? Do I mention dragons eating homework? Is that weird? Kim broke the silence. "So, Mr. Jensen, what's your story?" Alex blinked. "My story? Yeah, everyone has one. You teach kids to code, you're clearly smart, and you have that mysterious vibe like you're hiding a secret superpower." Alex almost laughed. If only she knew. "I'm not that interesting," he said. Kim tilted her head. "I don't believe that." Alex hesitated, then said, "I grew up quiet. Invisible mostly. College was the same. I like programming because it makes sense. People don't." Kim's expression softened. "Invisible, huh?" Alex nodded. "Yeah. In a room full of people, I was the silence between words." Kim studied him for a moment, then smiled gently. "Funny. You don't seem invisible now." Alex felt heat creep up his neck. "That's because you're looking." Kim's smile widened. "Exactly." They talked. About school, about kids, about why Ethan's dragon was the most chaotic piece of code Alex had ever seen. Kim told him about her dream of writing children's books someday. Alex told her about his love for strategy games, carefully omitting the fact that he'd built one that half the internet adored. The conversation flowed easier than Alex expected. Kim had a way of making silence feel like part of the dialogue, not an awkward gap. Halfway through her latte, Kim leaned forward. "So, what's the most spontaneous thing you've ever done?" Alex thought, and realized the answer was, "Agreeing to coffee with you." Kim laughed so hard she nearly spilled her drink. "Wow, that's adorable." Alex frowned. "Adorable? Yeah, you're like a human plot twist." Alex wasn't sure if that was good or bad, but Kim looked delighted, so he decided it was good. When they finally left, the sky was streaked with orange and pink. Kim walked beside him, hands in her pockets. "This was fun," she said. Alex nodded. "Yeah." Kim glanced at him, eyes bright. "Let's do it again." Alex swallowed. "Okay." She smiled. "Next time, maybe something wild. Like bowling." Alex chuckled. "Living dangerously." Kim grinned. "You have no idea." As she walked away, Alex stood there, heart pounding like he'd just pushed code to production without testing. "She wants to see me again." For the first time in his life, Alex Jensen felt like maybe, just maybe, he wasn't invisible anymore. Chapter 5. Bowling and Blunders. Alex had never been inside a bowling alley. He knew what bowling was: 10 pins, heavy ball, knock them down, but the closest he'd come was a minigame in a sports simulator. And in that game, the ball always went straight. Reality, he suspected, would be less forgiving. Friday night, he stood outside the neon-lit alley, wondering if he looked like someone who belonged here. His hoodie was clean, his jeans were fine, but his shoes, well, they were sneakers. He hoped that was allowed. Kim arrived 2 minutes later, breezing in like she owned the night. She wore a red jacket over a simple tee, her hair in a loose braid. She looked casual, effortless, like fun personified. "Ready to bowl?" she asked, grinning. Alex hesitated. "Define ready." Kim laughed. "You've never bowled before, have you?" Alex shook his head. "Not unless video games count." Kim's eyes sparkled. "Oh, this is going to be fun." Inside, the alley was a riot of color and sound. Pins crashing, balls thudding, music pulsing from overhead speakers. Kim led the way to their lane, grabbed the score tablet, and started entering names. "Alex," she said, typing his name. "And me. No nicknames." Alex shrugged. "I wouldn't know what to pick." Kim smirked. "Fine. I'll pick for you." She typed something and turned the screen toward him. "Player 1. Codemaster. Player 2. Chaos Queen." Alex blinked. "Chaos Queen." Kim winked. "You'll see." They got their shoes. Alex tried not to think about how many feet had lived in them and picked balls. Kim chose a bright pink one like it was destiny. Alex picked a plain black ball because it looked serious, like it knew what it was doing. Kim went first. She lined up, swung, and sent the ball gliding down the lane like a pro. 9 pins fell in a satisfying crash. Alex stared. "You've done this before." Kim grinned. "Maybe once or twice." Alex stepped up, heart pounding like he was about to deploy untested code. He swung, released, and watched the ball veer hard left, straight into the gutter. Kim clapped, laughing. Wow, that was bold. Alex groaned. I think gravity hates me. Kim leaned on the ball return, smiling. You'll get it. Just aim for the middle next time. Alex muttered, middle. Got it. He tried again. The ball rolled slower this time, wobbled, and, miracle of miracles, hit 2 pins. Kim cheered like he'd won a championship. Yes. Progress. Alex couldn't help smiling. 2 pins. Out of 10. Kim shrugged. It's a start. Rome wasn't built in a day. As the game went on, Kim racked up strikes and spares like it was her job. Alex improved. Slightly. He managed to spare once, and Kim high-fived him so enthusiastically he nearly dropped his ball. Between turns, they talked. About school, about coding, about why Kim's students thought she was secretly a superhero. Alex told her about his favorite childhood game, and Kim confessed she'd never played anything more complicated than Tetris. You'd hate my game, Alex said before he could stop himself. Kim tilted her head. Your game. Alex froze. Idiot. He hadn't meant to say that. He scrambled for a cover story. Just something I was working on. Nothing big. Kim smiled. Sounds cool. You'll have to show me sometime. Alex nodded, trying not to look like someone hiding a billion-dollar secret. By the last frame, Kim was winning by a landslide. She lined up for her final shot, turned to Alex with a mischievous grin, and said, if I get a strike, you owe me dessert. Alex raised an eyebrow. And if you don't? Kim thought for a second. Then I owe you dessert. Alex smiled. Fair. She swung. The ball rolled smooth and straight, crashing into all 10 pins like destiny. Kim threw her hands up. Yes. Dessert time. Alex laughed, shaking his head. You planned that. Kim grinned. Maybe. But hey. You agreed. They left the alley and walked to a little diner down the street. Kim ordered a slice of chocolate cake. Alex got coffee because his brain needed something familiar. As they sat in the booth, Kim leaned forward, chin resting on her hand. You know, she said, you're different. Alex blinked. Different how? Kim smiled softly. Most people talk just to fill silence. You talk when it matters. Alex didn't know what to say to that. So he said the truth. I like listening. Kim's eyes warmed. I like that. When they said goodbye, Kim hugged him. Quick, casual, but it left Alex standing on the sidewalk with his heart doing somersaults. He liked listening. He liked her laugh. He liked her. And for the first time, Alex Jensen realized he was falling for Kim Sutton. Chapter 6. The unexpected spotlight. Alex didn't usually check his phone during work, but when it buzzed with a message from Kim, he couldn't ignore it. Kim. Hey, got a favor to ask. Big one. You free Saturday? Alex. Depends on the favor. Kim. School talent showcase. I need someone to help run the tech. Our usual guy bailed. Alex. Tech? Like sound and lights? Kim. Exactly. You'd be perfect. Please. Alex stared at the screen. Crowds. Noise. Spotlight. Well, not on him, but close enough to make his stomach knot. Still. Kim asked. And saying no felt impossible. Alex. Okay. Kim. You're the best. I owe you. Saturday arrived with the kind of nervous energy Alex usually reserved for product launches. He walked into the school auditorium carrying a laptop and a silent prayer that nothing would explode. Kim was already there, clipboard in hand, looking like the commander of a very cheerful army. She spotted him instantly and waved, her smile bright enough to cut through his anxiety. You came, she said, hurrying over. I said I would, Alex replied, adjusting his bag strap like it was a shield. Kim grinned. You're officially my hero. Come on, I'll show you the setup. The tech booth was a cramped corner with a soundboard, a laptop, and a tangle of cables that looked like spaghetti gone rogue. Alex assessed the chaos, rolled up his sleeves, and got to work. It wasn't game development, but it was still systems, and systems made sense. Kim hovered nearby, watching him with open admiration. You look like you were born for this. Alex smirked. Born for cable management? Kim laughed. Hey, don't knock it. You're saving the day. The showcase started, and Alex settled into his role, adjusting mics, cueing music, making sure the lights didn't blind the third graders performing their dance routine. It was going smoothly, until the principal announced an unexpected twist. And now, the principal boomed. We have a special guest performance. Our very own coding wizard, Mr. Jensen, will show us something amazing. Alex froze. His hands hovered over the soundboard like they'd forgotten what hands do. Kim turned to him, eyes wide. Did you know about this? Alex shook his head, panic rising like a flood. No, I did not. Kim bit her lip, then whispered, you don't have to. But the kids were already chanting. Mr. Jensen, Mr. Jensen. Alex's brain screamed abort mission, but his feet betrayed him, carrying him toward the stage like a man walking to his own execution. The spotlight hit him. Literally. He squinted against the glare, heart pounding like a drum solo. 100 faces stared back. Kids, parents, teachers. Waiting. He could run. He could fake a power outage. Or, he could do what he always did when life threw chaos at him. Improvise. Alex took a deep breath, pulled his laptop from the booth, and connected it to the projector. The screen lit up with lines of code, his comfort zone. Hi, he said, voice shaky but audible. So, coding is like magic. You type words, and things happen. Let me show you. He opened a simple program, a little animation he'd made for the workshop. A dragon appeared on the screen, breathing pixelated fire. The kids erupted in cheers. Alex smiled, small but real. This dragon eats homework, he said, typing a command. The dragon chomped down on a cartoon math sheet, and the crowd laughed. For 5 minutes, Alex wasn't invisible. He was the guy making magic happen, and it felt good. When he returned to the booth, Kim was waiting with a grin that could power a city. You were amazing, she said. Alex shook his head. I was terrified. Kim touched his arm lightly. You didn't look it. Alex swallowed, heat creeping up his neck. Thanks for not letting me run. Kim smiled softly. Anytime. The showcase ended, and they walked out together into the cool evening air. Kim glanced at him, eyes bright. You know, she said, you're full of surprises. Alex chuckled. I'm not sure that was a good one. Kim stopped, turning to face him. It was. You were brave. Alex met her gaze, and for a moment, the world narrowed to just her. The warmth in her eyes, the curve of her smile. Something shifted inside him, quiet but undeniable. He was falling. Hard. Chapter 7. Quiet Confessions. The week after the showcase, Kim texted Alex again. Kim, you free tonight? Alex, depends. What's the plan? Kim, low-key. Just hanging out. My place. Pizza and bad movies. Alex, sounds safe. Kim, safe? You wound me. It's going to be epic. Alex stared at the message for a long moment. Hanging out at her place. That felt different. Not coffee in public different. Not bowling with other people different. This was private. Personal. He typed okay before his brain could overthink it into oblivion. Kim's apartment was warm and lived in, with books stacked on shelves and a throw blanket draped over the couch like it belonged there. The smell of pizza filled the air, and a cheesy rom-com played on the TV, its dialogue floating in the background like harmless static. Kim greeted him with a smile and a slice of pepperoni. You made it. Alex smiled back, awkward but genuine. I said I would. She grinned. You always do. They settled on the couch, plates balanced on their laps. The movie was ridiculous, two strangers pretending to be married to win a contest. And Kim laughed at all the wrong moments, which made Alex laugh too. Halfway through, Kim muted the TV and turned to him. So, she said, tell me something real. Alex blinked. Real? Yeah, not code, not dragons. Something about you. Alex hesitated. He wasn't used to this, being asked, being seen. But Kim's eyes were steady, warm, like she wasn't asking for entertainment. She was asking for truth. I've never. He stopped, swallowed. I've never had a girlfriend. Kim's expression softened, but she didn't look shocked. Never. Alex shook his head. Not once. I wasn't the guy people noticed. Kim tilted her head. Is that why you think you're invisible? Alex almost smiled. I don't think. I know. Kim reached out, her fingers brushing his arm lightly. You're not invisible to me. The words landed like a quiet thunderclap. Alex felt something shift inside, a fragile, hopeful thing he didn't dare name. He cleared his throat, trying to steady himself. What about you? Something real. Kim leaned back, thinking. Okay, here's one. I used to think happiness was about big things, dream jobs, fancy vacations, all that. But lately, she glanced at him, her smile soft. I think it's about small things, like pizza and bad movies with someone who makes you feel seen. Alex's chest tightened. He wanted to say something, anything, but the words tangled in his throat. So he just nodded, hoping she could read what he couldn't say. They talked for hours after that. About childhood fears, college regrets, favorite songs. Kim told him about the time she tried to write a novel and gave up after 3 chapters. Alex confessed he still had a folder of unfinished games on his hard drive. At some point, the pizza was gone, the movie credits rolled, and the room was quiet except for the hum of the heater. Kim looked at him, her eyes gentle. You know, she said softly, you're easy to talk to. Alex swallowed. You make it easy. Kim smiled, and for a moment, Alex thought, hoped, she might kiss him. But she didn't. She just leaned her head on his shoulder, and that was enough to make his heart feel like it had finally found a home. When he left that night, the city lights blurred through his windshield, and Alex realized something simple and terrifying. He didn't just like Kim. He needed her. Chapter 8. Friends and First Impressions. Alex had survived coffee. He had survived bowling. He had even survived being shoved under a spotlight with a dragon animation as his only weapon. But this felt like the boss level of social anxiety. Kim's text had been cheerful, casual, like she was inviting him to grab lunch. Kim, game night at my friend's place. You in? Alex, game night? Like board games? Kim, yep. You'll love it. Promise. Alex stared at the message for a full minute before typing okay, because saying no wasn't an option. Not when Kim asked. Saturday evening, Alex stood outside a townhouse buzzing with laughter. He could hear voices inside, multiple voices. People. Strangers. His stomach knotted like bad code. Kim opened the door before he could knock. She was radiant in a simple green sweater, her smile bright enough to melt his nerves. Almost. You made it, she said, pulling him inside like he belonged there. The living room was cozy but crowded. For people sat around a coffee table stacked with board games. They looked up as Kim introduced him. This is Alex, she said. He teaches coding at my school. Alex managed a small wave. Hi. The group smiled, friendly enough. But Alex felt the old weight settle on his shoulders, the one that whispered, you're the quiet guy? The background character. Kim guided him to the couch. We're playing code names, she said. Ever played? Alex shook his head. No. Kim grinned. You'll pick it up. It's all about words and clues. Words, clues, social deduction. Great. Exactly what his brain needed while drowning in self-consciousness. The game started. Kim sat beside him, her presence a steady anchor. The others joked, teased, tossed clues like confetti. Alex listened, trying to decode the rhythm of their banter. When his turn came, he froze. The board was a grid of random words. Bridge, moon, code, night. His clue had to connect two words without pointing to the assassin card. Kim leaned close, whispering, "You've got this." Alex swallowed. Strategy. 2. The team stared at the board, then at him. Strategy, one guy said. Okay, night and code. Yes, Alex said, relief flooding him. Kim grinned. See? You're a natural. As the night went on, Alex loosened, just a little. He even cracked a joke about debugging friendships, which earned a laugh from the group. Kim beamed like he'd just won an award. When the game ended, someone suggested pizza. Kim stayed close, chatting easily with her friends, but never leaving Alex adrift. Every so often, she touched his arm lightly, like a quiet reassurance. You're doing fine. Later, as they walked to their cars, Kim looked at him with that warm, steady gaze. You were great tonight. Alex shook his head. I barely talked. Kim smiled. You talked when it mattered. That's what I like about you. Alex felt something shift, again. That fragile hope growing roots. Kim, he said softly, I'm glad you asked me. Her smile widened. Me too. When he drove home, Alex realized something startling. He hadn't just survived. He'd enjoyed it. And maybe, just maybe, he was starting to believe he belonged. Chapter 9. Truths and Tremors. The next time Alex saw Kim, it wasn't at a coffee shop or a bowling alley. It was at the park, under a canopy of autumn leaves that looked like fire scattered across the grass. Kim had suggested a walk, fresh air, no screens, and Alex had agreed. Even though his idea of fresh air usually involved opening a window while compiling code. They strolled along the path, the crisp air carrying the scent of fallen leaves. Kim was quiet at first, which was unusual for her. Normally, she filled silence with laughter or questions. Today, she seemed thoughtful. Alex noticed. He always noticed. You okay? He asked gently. Kim glanced at him, then looked away. Yeah, just thinking. About what? She hesitated, then stopped walking. About how life doesn't always go the way you plan. Alex waited, sensing this wasn't small talk. Kim took a breath. I don't tell a lot of people this, but I was engaged once. Alex blinked. Engaged? She nodded, eyes fixed on the ground. 2 years ago, we were planning a wedding, picking colors, all that. And then he left. Said he wasn't ready. Said he didn't know if he ever would be. Alex felt something twist in his chest. Not jealousy, but a sharp ache for the hurt she must have carried. I'm sorry, he said softly. Kim shrugged, but her smile was brittle. It was hard. I kept wondering what was wrong with me. But I learned something. People leave, and you can't control that. All you can do is keep moving forward. Alex wanted to say something wise, something comforting, but all he managed was, you deserve better. Kim looked at him then, her eyes warm and sad all at once. Thanks. They walked on, the silence between them heavier now, but not uncomfortable. It was the kind of silence that held truth. Alex's mind, though, was a storm. Kim had trusted him with something raw, something real, and it made his own secret feel heavier than ever. He'd been avoiding it, pretending it didn't matter. But it did. Because if this kept going, and God, he wanted it to, she deserved to know who he really was. Not just the quiet guy who taught coding. The guy who had money, success, a name people knew in the gaming world. And that terrified him. Because what if it changed everything? Kim broke the silence with a smile that felt like sunlight after rain. So, she said, tell me something about you. Something you've never told anyone. Alex swallowed hard. His mind screamed tell her now. But his mouth betrayed him. I still have the first game I ever made, he said instead. It's terrible. Like, embarrassingly bad. Kim laughed, the sound easing the knot in his chest. I want to see it. Alex smiled faintly. Maybe someday. When they parted, Kim hugged him, longer than usual, like she needed it. Alex held her gently, wishing he could give her more than comfort. Wishing he could give her truth. But for now, he walked away with a secret burning in his pocket and a question echoing in his mind. When do I tell her? Chapter 10. Interrupted Confessions. Alex had rehearsed the words 100 times. In the shower, driving to work, lying awake at night, staring at the ceiling like it held the answers. Kim, there's something you should know about me. I'm not just a guy who teaches coding. I built a game. It became big. I have money. A lot of it. Every version sounded wrong. Too blunt. Too awkward. Too much like a confession of a crime instead of success. But tonight, he was done hiding. She deserved the truth. They met at a quiet cafe Kim loved. Warm lights, soft music, the kind of place where secrets felt safe. Alex arrived early, heart pounding like a runaway script. He picked a corner table, ordered 2 coffees, and tried not to imagine every possible way this could go wrong. Kim walked in 5 minutes later, her smile lighting up the room. She slid into the seat across from him, brushing a strand of hair behind her ear. You look serious, she said, studying his face. Everything okay? Alex swallowed hard. Yeah, I just need to tell you something. Kim tilted her head, curiosity sparking in her eyes. Okay, shoot. Alex opened his mouth. Then the cafe door burst open. A man strode in, loud and confident, like he owned the oxygen in the room. Mid-30s, designer jacket, phone glued to his hand. He spotted Kim instantly and grinned. Kim Sutton. I thought that was you. Kim blinked. Ryan. Alex froze. Ryan? Who's Ryan? Ryan walked over, ignoring Alex completely. Wow, it's been forever. How are you? Kim smiled politely. I'm good. Just catching up with a friend. Ryan glanced at Alex like he was a chair, then back at Kim. Listen, we're doing a startup mixer next week. You should come. Lots of big names. Networking, opportunities, you'd love it. Kim hesitated. I'm not really. Ryan cut her off. Come on, Kim. You've got the brains and the charm. Don't waste it in a classroom. Alex felt something hot coil in his chest. Not jealousy. Well, maybe a little, but mostly anger at the way Ryan dismissed her like teaching was small. Like Kim wasn't already changing lives every day. Kim's smile tightened. Teaching isn't a waste, Ryan. Ryan shrugged, clearly unconvinced. Think about it. I'll text you. He winked and walked out, leaving a trail of arrogance behind. Silence settled like dust. Kim sighed, rubbing her forehead. Sorry about that. Alex shook his head. Don't be. He's a lot. Kim laughed softly. That's one way to put it. Alex stared at her, the words he'd rehearsed burning in his throat. Tell her now, before someone else barges in. Kim, he said, voice low. I really do need to tell you something. She looked at him, eyes steady. Okay. Alex took a breath. I'm not just a coding guy. His phone buzzed. Loud. Urgent. He glanced down and froze. Server alert. Critical failure. His game. The one he'd handed off to the publisher. Something was wrong. Very wrong. Alex's stomach dropped. Timing couldn't be worse. Kim frowned. Everything okay? Alex closed his eyes for a second, then forced a smile that felt like a lie. I need to handle this. Can we talk later? Kim studied him, concern flickering in her gaze. Sure. Is everything okay? Alex nodded, even though nothing felt okay. Yeah. Just work. As he walked out, phone buzzing like a siren, one thought hammered in his head. I was ready. And I blew it. Chapter 11. The truth between heartbeats. Alex stared at the blinking cursor on his laptop screen like it was mocking him. The email draft he'd started 3 times already sat empty except for the words. Kim, I need to tell you something. He hated how ominous that sounded. It wasn't like he was confessing to a crime. He was confessing to success, which, apparently, was harder than admitting failure. He closed the laptop with a sigh and leaned back in his chair. The hum of his old desktop tower filled the silence of his apartment. It was comforting, like white noise for his thoughts. He rubbed his face with both hands and muttered, why is this so hard? Because it mattered. Because she mattered. For weeks, Alex had been carrying this weight like a secret identity. Every time Kim laughed at one of his dry jokes or smiled when he brought her coffee, he felt like a fraud. She thought he was just a regular guy with a regular job and a worn-out Toyota. And he was, mostly. But he was also the guy who could buy a new car tomorrow without blinking. The guy who had a bank account that looked like a cheat code. He didn't want that to change how she saw him. He didn't want her to start seeing dollar signs instead of Alex Jensen, the quiet programmer who still got nervous ordering at Starbucks. His phone buzzed on the desk. A text from Kim. Kim, hey, you alive? Haven't heard from you today. Did the kids break you? Alex smiled despite himself. She always knew how to pull him out of his head. Alex, still alive. Barely. One kid tried to convince me that semicolons are evil. I almost agreed. Her reply came fast. Kim, LOL. You're such a pushover. Coffee tomorrow? My treat. He stared at the screen. Tomorrow. He could tell her tomorrow. Face to face. No ominous emails. No blinking cursors. Just words. Simple words. Alex, coffee sounds good. He tossed the phone aside and tried to ignore the knot in his stomach. Tomorrow was going to be the longest day of his life. The next afternoon, Alex arrived at the cafe 10 minutes early because punctuality was his coping mechanism. He picked a corner table, the kind that gave him a clear view of the door, and tried not to look like someone about to confess a state secret. Kim walked in wearing a bright yellow scarf that made her look like a burst of sunshine in the gray November chill. She spotted him instantly and waved. Her smile so effortless it made his chest ache. Hey, stranger, she said, sliding into the chair across from him. You look like you're waiting for a job interview. Alex chuckled nervously. Do I? Yeah, all tense and serious. Should I ask you about your greatest weakness? He swallowed hard. Honesty? She laughed, and the sound was warm enough to melt the frost on the windows. Okay, now I'm curious. What's going on? Alex took a breath. This was it. No turning back. Kim, I need to tell you something about me, he said, his voice steadier than he felt. And I don't want it to change anything between us. Her brows lifted, but her expression stayed calm. Okay, you're not secretly married, are you? What? No. He almost choked on his own air. God, no. Good. Because that would be awkward. She leaned in, resting her chin on her hand. So what's this big reveal? Alex stared at his coffee like it held the courage he needed. You know that game I told you about? The one I made. Medieval Dominion? Her eyes lit up. Yeah, I love that game. He blinked. Wait, you play it? Of course I do. She grinned. I'm in a guild called the Sunflowers. Don't laugh. Alex was too stunned to laugh. You never said anything. She shrugged. Didn't seem important. You're Alex. Not game guy. Something in his chest loosened, but he pushed on. Well, it kind of blew up. A publisher picked it up. I made a lot of money from it. Kim tilted her head. Define a lot. He hesitated. Enough that I could quit my job tomorrow and never worry about bills again. Her eyes widened for a second, then softened. Wow, that's amazing, Alex. He searched her face for any sign of calculation, any flicker of greed. There was none, just genuine surprise and, was that pride? You're not weirded out? He asked quietly. Kim laughed, and it was the kind of laugh that made the knot in his stomach dissolve. Alex, why would I be weirded out? You worked hard. You created something incredible. That's awesome. He blinked. You really think so? I know so. She reached across the table and touched his hand, her fingers warm against his skin. And for the record, I liked you before I knew you were secretly rich. Alex let out a breath he didn't realize he'd been holding. I'm not secretly rich. I'm just accidentally rich. Kim grinned. Accidental riches. Sounds like a rom-com title. He chuckled, the tension finally breaking. Yeah, starring the guy who still drives an 8-year-old Toyota. And the girl who plays his game under a ridiculous guild name, she added. For the first time in days, Alex felt light. Like maybe honesty wasn't a weakness after all. Chapter 12, Sunflowers and Secrets. Alex couldn't stop smiling as they left the cafe. It wasn't the kind of smile you wear for a photo. It was the kind that sneaks up on you and refuses to leave. Kim walked beside him, her yellow scarf fluttering in the wind like a banner of victory. For the first time in his life, Alex felt like he wasn't invisible. He felt seen, really seen. Accidental riches, Kim said, nudging him with her elbow. Still laughing about that. Alex chuckled. It's true. I didn't plan any of this. You know what I like about you? She asked, her tone casual, but her eyes warm. What? His voice cracked slightly, and he cursed himself for sounding like a teenager. You're the same guy who showed up to the workshop in a hoodie with coffee stains. Money didn't change that. Alex looked at her, trying to read between the lines. Is that good? It's great, she said firmly. You're real, Alex. That's rare. They walked in silence for a moment, the kind that felt comfortable instead of awkward. Alex's mind was racing, though. He wanted to tell her everything. How lonely he'd been, how much this mattered, but the words tangled in his throat. Kim broke the silence first. So, about that guild. He laughed. The sunflowers. Don't judge, she said, grinning. We started as a gardening clubbing game. Then someone suggested we build cities instead of flower beds. That's oddly wholesome, Alex said. Wholesome and deadly, she added. We're ranked third right now. Alex raised an eyebrow. Third. Impressive. Don't sound so surprised, she teased. We're strategic geniuses. He smiled, but inside, something shifted. This wasn't just about a game. It was about connection, something he'd spent his whole life craving. And here she was, laughing with him, sharing pieces of herself like it was the most natural thing in the world. Later that evening, Alex sat in his apartment, staring at his phone. He could text her. He could call. But instead, he opened the game. His game. He searched for the sunflowers and found their guild page. There it was. Kim's username, SunnyKim26. He laughed softly. Of course. He hovered over the send message button, then stopped. No, he didn't want to be the developer sliding into her guild chat like some kind of celebrity. He wanted to keep things real. His phone buzzed before he could overthink it. Kim, had fun today? Thanks for being honest with me. Alex stared at the words, his chest tightening in the best way possible. Alex, thanks for not running away. Her reply came fast. Kim, why would I? You're still you, Alex. That's what matters. He set the phone down and leaned back, letting the relief wash over him. For the first time in years, he wasn't just surviving. He was living. The next few weeks were a blur of small, perfect moments. Coffee dates turned into long walks. Conversations stretched late into the night. They talked about everything. Childhood dreams, favorite books, the weird quirks that made them laugh. Kim confessed she once tried to learn coding and gave up after 3 hours. Alex admitted he still got nervous ordering food if the menu had too many options. One evening, as they sat on a park bench watching the sunset paint the sky in shades of orange and pink, Kim turned to him. Can I ask you something? She said. Anything, Alex replied. Why me? Her voice was soft, almost hesitant. You could have anyone now. You're successful. Well, you. Alex looked at her, really looked at her. The way her hair caught the light, the way her eyes held questions and hope all at once. Because you saw me before any of that mattered, he said quietly. And because when I'm with you, I don't feel invisible anymore. Kim's breath hitched, and for a moment, the world seemed to pause. Then she smiled, a smile that felt like sunlight breaking through clouds. Good answer, she whispered. Alex smiled back, his heart pounding like it was trying to memorize this moment. Because he knew, deep down, that this was the beginning of something real. Chapter 13. The End of Invisibility. Alex stood in front of his mirror, adjusting the collar of his shirt for the 5th time. It wasn't a fancy shirt, just a crisp button-down he'd bought on sale, but tonight felt different. Tonight wasn't about coffee or casual walks. Tonight was about saying the words that had been sitting in his chest like a secret code waiting to be unlocked. He glanced at the small box on his desk. Not a ring. He wasn't there yet, but something meaningful, a silver pendant shaped like a sunflower. It was simple, understated, and perfect. He'd had it custom-made after Kim told him about her guild. It wasn't about the game. It was about what the name represented, warmth, resilience, and a little bit of sunshine in his life. The restaurant was cozy, The kind of place where the lights were soft and the music was just loud enough to fill the silence without drowning conversation. Kim arrived wearing a navy dress that made Alex forget how to breathe for a second. She smiled when she saw him, and that smile was all the reassurance he needed. "You clean up nice," she teased, sliding into the seat across from him. Alex chuckled nervously. "Thanks. I tried." Dinner was easy. Laughter, shared stories, a debate about whether pineapple belonged on pizza. Kim said yes. Alex said absolutely not. But as the plates were cleared and dessert menus appeared, Alex knew it was time. "Kim," he began, his voice steady but his heart pounding like a drumline. "There's something I need to say." She tilted her head, curious. "You're not secretly Batman, are you?" He laughed, grateful for the levity. "No, but you've changed my life." Her brows lifted slightly. "I have. Yeah." He took a breath. "For most of my life, I felt invisible. Like I was just background noise. Even when things got better, when the game took off, I still felt like that guy in the corner no one noticed. Until you." Kim's eyes softened, and Alex pressed on before his courage evaporated. "You saw me. Not the money, not the game, me. And I don't ever want to go back to feeling invisible again. So, I guess what I'm trying to say is..." He reached into his pocket and placed the small box on the table. "You're the best thing that's ever happened to me." Kim opened the box slowly, her fingers brushing the silver sunflower. Her smile bloomed like the pendant itself. "Alex," she whispered, her voice thick with emotion. "It's beautiful. It reminded me of you," he said quietly. "Bright, strong, impossible to ignore." For a moment, neither of them spoke. Then Kim reached across the table and took his hand, her grip warm and sure. "You were never invisible to me," she said. Not for a second. Alex felt something break open inside him, a dam he didn't know he'd built. He laughed, a shaky, relieved sound, and Kim laughed too, because that's what they did. They laughed through the awkwardness, through the fear, until all that was left was joy. Later, as they walked out into the cool night air, Kim slipped her arm through his. "So," she said, glancing at him with a mischievous smile. "Does this mean I get developer privileges in the next update?" Alex groaned. "Absolutely not." She laughed, and he laughed with her, because for the first time in his life, Alex Jensen wasn't the silence between words. He was part of the conversation, part of something real. And as they disappeared into the glow of the streetlights, Alex realized that invisibility was a thing of the past, and love, messy and unexpected, was his new reality. Epilogue: Sunflowers in bloom. 2 years later, Alex Jensen stood in a classroom filled with laughter and the faint smell of dry erase markers. The after-school programming workshop had grown. What started as a handful of curious kids was now a full-fledged program with its own dedicated space. Alex still taught every Thursday, because no amount of success could replace the joy of watching a child's eyes light up when their first line of code worked. "Mr. Jensen, look," a boy shouted, holding up his tablet. "My dragon moves." Alex grinned. "Nice work, Ethan. That's some serious game dev potential." He turned toward the back of the room, where Kim was chatting with a group of parents. She caught his eye and smiled, a smile that still made his heart skip like the first time he saw her in that yellow scarf. Only now, she wore a sunflower pendant around her neck, the same one he'd given her that night at the restaurant. Life had changed in ways Alex never imagined. The game was still thriving, now with a team of developers handling updates and tournaments. Alex consulted occasionally, but spent most of his time teaching and working on smaller projects for fun. Money was no longer a weight on his shoulders. It was just a tool, one he used to fund scholarships for kids who wanted to learn coding. Kim walked over, slipping her hand into his like it belonged there. "Ready to go?" she asked. "Almost," Alex said, glancing around the room. "Just need to lock up?" As they stepped outside into the golden glow of late afternoon, Kim squeezed his hand. "You know," she said, "the sunflowers are ranked first now." Alex laughed. "Still playing?" "Of course," she said with a grin. "Someone has to keep your legacy alive." He shook his head, smiling. "You're unbelievable. And you," she said softly, "are finally visible." Alex looked at her, at the life they'd built together, simple, honest, and full of laughter, and realized she was right. He wasn't the silence between words anymore. He was part of a story, their story, and it was just beginning.